Where are you going, Miss Sambo? Oh, there and there?
So everyone come right around here. Do you want to sit? I know you'd like to have a seat. Everyone, don't you love this? This is true French Quarter living today. And by the way, even though this house, I want to show you the consistency. Look at this house, slave quarters in the back. Look right across the way, exactly the same, almost a mirror of that.
So this was a slave?
Yes, it is, always in the back. And even though this house was built for a moderately wealthy Creole family, as long as you get old slaves and they're legal, here they are back here, slaves upstairs, kitchen downstairs. How ironic in the modern century is a lot of these houses are being cut down into smaller condo spaces. The more valued part of your home today, slave quarters in the rear.
So no kitchens were in it?
No kitchens, they put them all in the 20th century. Kitchens were here. Now we like to affectionately call these mother-in-law apartments.
Yeah.
Having said that, everyone, let me give you a time frame. It is now after the American Civil War. It is also the American culture dominant in the city. And the way we see our world is the way it's going to be for all of us. And of course, we see our world black or white. We don't entertain this in-between stuff that these Creoles do. So what is going to happen to Creole society as it begins to assimilate into American? Well, if you're a wealthy white Creole, you can either assimilate, become American, or you can get out. Many, like Laura's family, return to France. Others will go to the Caribbean, or more importantly, Latin America, into Latin culture, more in line with theirs.
Or run for office.
You got it, run for office. Slaves in the modern century become African Americans, but these Creoles of color, who will never be white under the American system, who choose not to be black, they consider that to be a lower class than they are. These are the only people who come into the modern century calling themselves Creole and carrying that mantle of culture with them as well. And this is why so many people today understand any Creole as someone of mixed race. For in truth, they're the only ones who remain. We also know that many of them, now that I should say this is the beginning of the laws of segregation, a lot of these young Creole men were basically schooled, formally tutored in music. Do I have any musicians on my tour today? Go back in those days, whatever the famous composer composed is how you played it every single time. Don't you change the notes, don't you vary the rhythm. You can be punished severely for this. Back in those days, there's a large population of sons of freed slaves who never had the opportunity of a formal education. They're musically inclined, they play by ear. A lot of their emphasis comes from their family. Once again, this African beat music. But now with segregation, they all have to play together, even though they don't like each other. Even the music bands are segregated. And over time, they will begin to mix and learn music, and something new will evolve. And everyone, if there's only one thing that you remember from this walk, I hope this is what you take back with you. Why New Orleans is so important to you. This is the birthplace of jazz music, our first American art form. Before this moment in time, the vast majority of us are immigrants of Europe. We imitate Europe in everything, in art, literature, architecture, music, and even culture itself. But now the creation of jazz music makes us unique as a culture. And what is the easiest way to define jazz music today but the blending of European and African music forms? By the way, the local newspaper called this brand new form of music a low streak in man, a sure sign that civilization is in decline. We know a lot of these guys will make no money playing this new music here. It's not well accepted. They're going to head north, Kansas City, up to that land where the gangsters rule, Chicago, New York, and around the world to Paris, where it becomes very popular. Once it becomes famous, we will claim our birthright once again, but it had to leave New Orleans to become famous. Having said that, in case you didn't know, every other American music form is born of jazz. Rock and roll, hip-hop, swing, and rap are all born of jazz music. So last stop, this way everyone.
And what about twerking?
Twerking? You know, I don't know where twerking, well, they don't call it twerking here. What did they call it? They have another thing, but because I think they did go for it.
Or some kind of